The Home Secretary was well aware that there's no consensus among MPs for extending the present powers of detention beyond 28 days. Initially, the government had said it favoured a period of 90 days detention without charge, but she had changed her position on this.
We have fundamentally changed our position since the first proposition that we put forward. So we are now in a position, in the legislation that I've published, of saying actually we should not legislate in a way that would change the position as from today. We recognise that there are concerns and questions about the sorts of circumstances and the exceptional nature of the circumstances in which you might want to use pre-charge detention. So we are legislating, building on the principles of the Civil Contingencies Act, of saying if those circumstances arose in the future, we would have in place, having had ample time to discuss the sort of safeguards around them, the ability to be able to bring into force for a time-limited period, another big change that we've made, a piece of legislation that would enable application to a judge.
Thank you. The Home Secretary, this consensus...
A decision to detain for up to 42 days would also have to be brought to Parliament, even after going to a judge for approval.
This is a difficult and controversial area. That's why the government has been willing to listen and try to develop a consensus throughout. It's why we have been willing to move our position and respond to the points that have been made to us. But in the end, we have a question that we need to answer. If there is a consensus, including within this committee, that we have a problem here, potentially in the future, is it or is it not right that we should legislate now on a proportionate and precautionary basis? And as I've said previously, my responsibility as Home Secretary, yes, is to build a consensus and find an agreement and respond to people's concerns. But it's, in the end, it's to make sure that I do everything that I can and the government does everything they can to ensure that the security of people in this country is put centre and front of what we do, and we will do that in a way that attempts to build a consensus. That's why we've moved, but in the end that's my responsibility. And I think actually the vast majority of people in this debate have now moved on from the if we should legislate to the how we should legislate, and I think the passage of this bill through Parliament will give us the opportunity to look at that in detail and the safeguards around it.
The Home Secretary was asked whether Muslim organisations supported the government's proposals.
Hazel Blears and myself actually had a very useful discussion post the publication of this bill with the round table that she had set up of Muslim organisations. And actually what the conclusion of that was, and the process of discussion was at least one of the people in that room, and I'd have to go back to get the details of it, said, well, there was actually quite a lot of good response to the way in which as a government we've been willing to move.
One of the people.
And quite a lot of, there was a good response from everybody in the room about the approach that this government had taken to not just the response to individual terrorist events, but also the approach that we'd taken to developing the propositions in this bill.
And one MP asked why there was need for change when there was such disagreement.
And divide the House over terrorism when really there's no necessity to do so.
I didn't take the job of Home Secretary because I wanted a quiet life. I took the job of Home Secretary because I felt it was my responsibility and the government's responsibility to do what we consider to be the right thing for the security of this country, and I believe that the proposals that we're now putting forward do that.
There is considerable disquiet about these proposals, both among government MPs and those in opposition, and there'll be much debate before the bill becomes law.